Rebuilding a Rustproof Land Rover, Part 23. Cav-type injector pumps for Land Rover Series 2A and Series 3 models can be difficult to set up, especially on old worn diesel engines. I show some interesting information about cav-type injector pressures. Here are my experiences playing with them. On a very suitable day for fitting a cav pump, the 1st of April, the mechanic at Rossmore Garage, whose name is Tom, and myself fitted the rebuilt pump. Here's a quick clip from earlier on in the series, so you can see what I'm working on. The combination of the checker plate and the steering wheel against the black background inside the cab is good. Obviously in these clips I also painted the doors the same green as the rest of the Land Rover. And here is a close-up of the rattle can finish on the doors. And really I think it's not too bad. But please bear in mind that the paint that I used that was in rattle cans was very good quality stuff. It was pretty much like painting a large model steam engine. And here it is from another angle, looking okay. There are some blemishes on it, but that is intentional. It is after all a 1971 Land Rover. As usual, I got a negative comment from a YouTube viewer. And the comment was, "Sorry mate, but there is absolutely no such thing as a rust-free Land Rover, no matter how you try and stop it." I rebuilt this Land Rover in 1999, and I can't find any rust on it apart from one of the brackets on the inside of the back tub, and that's very easy to replace. I do agree that it is difficult to achieve a rust-free Land Rover, and this job was not easy. With the exception of the brake calipers and the exhaust manifold, nothing on this Land Rover, including the bulkhead inside and out, is rusty. Now that the structural integrity of the Land Rover is back to how it was in 1999, I'm currently in Rossmore Garage with it because it needs some mechanical work doing to the engine. I hope it's nothing serious. I don't think it is. The mechanic, whose name is Tom, and myself removed the bonnet and put it against the wall. This actually does need more rubbing down and more paint. For these engine jobs, it's not sat on a ramp. Instead, Tom was stood on a very strong plastic box. Here are some random shots of parts of the engine as Tom was taking it apart, starting with the rocker cover. Tom always wears these nitrile gloves, which is a good idea, it keeps your hands clean. I tried it, but they shredded in no time at all, and they were very tight and uncomfortable to wear. Personally, I always prefer an all-over rubber suit and gas mask combination. Here is a plastic tub containing some injectors and also some glow plugs for a Land Rover 2¼ diesel engine. I don't know whether they work or not, somehow I doubt it. I bought the lot for about £50 via eBay. Here you can see that in the engine compartment fitted to the engine are already 4 injectors just like these. I could just buy a brand new set of injectors, but that's not the point. I like to know how things work. So I have the injectors, and I've also bought an injector tester. Here it is. I'd been watching a few YouTube videos about how to test injectors, and most of the people were using a pump like this. And it's quite well made. I can't use it like this though, I need to bolt it to the bench, and I won't bolt it to my kitchen table. I'll take it up to the workshop and bolt it to the workbench in there. These pressure fittings are very well made. I've mounted one of the injectors in place to show the general arrangement. This is a very high pressure pump. It will actually pump, according to the gauge, up to 8,000 psi, slightly more than I need. I don't intend to use this very often, to be honest, but I had to have a go with one. Some interesting injector information from the man who rebuilt the cav pump. The cav setting is 180, which is 2,500 psi, and 180 shown in the Haynes manual, which is 2,200 psi. Set them to 2,500 psi. At 2,500 psi, you will save money as the fuel coming out of the injectors is gas. Also, the engine will have improved starting in cold temperatures. At the cav factory, they were set at 2,500 psi in the 1970s. Very interesting and useful information. but that is not why the Land Rover isn't starting properly. It's very slow to start, and when it does start, it smokes like a steam engine, and that is not acceptable. Not with a diesel Land Rover anyway. It took a while to set the position of the old pump to an optimum position, and the Land Rover really did run well, but unfortunately the old pump started to leak. Here the camera's microphone is closer to the engine, so it sounds differently, and things on the transmission tunnel do rattle a bit. In this clip I'm using my special bonnet prop. It's a brush, and once it's in position it's very firm, it goes nowhere. And it is dual use because I can sweep leaves out of the back of the Land Rover. The Land Rover is currently back in Rossmore garage, and Tom and I are working on it. Here is the original pump that was leaking very badly. Tom and I did some leak testing on it, and it was only leaking around the top cap. Because of the age of this pump, I thought it was a good idea to buy a remanufactured one. They are not cheap, but really they're not all that expensive either. Some that I looked at on eBay were very expensive. This one was from a seller on eBay who goes under the name of Bygone Diesel Pumps. I'll type the name on screen to avoid any confusion. It arrived by Royal Mail Special Delivery in a stout wooden box, very well packed. And here is the pump, currently fitted to the Land Rover. Here are a few views of it, and it appears to be very well rebuilt. After bleeding all the air from the system, from the fuel filter and the pump itself, we lined up the pointer with the line on the pump, and this was never going to end well. That probably works when the engine is new, but it doesn't work on an old, worn 1971 Land Rover engine, because by now the timing chain will have stretched and the valve events will not be synchronous with the mark on the flywheel. Basically, I've found that you need to advance the pump. Here, by the way, is the old pump that we removed from the Land Rover, and the part that was leaking is the part to the left, the top cap. Even though the engine seemed to run okay, I did notice quite a lot of fuel dripping onto the ground whenever I stopped the Land Rover, and my fuel consumption definitely went up. There was one minor problem with the rebuilt pump. This is the throttle arm, which I had to swap for the throttle arm on the old pump, because the throttle arm on the rebuilt pump, the part where the spring goes through, had actually worn into a slot. I simply changed the throttle arm for the one off the old pump. At first I thought it was going to be difficult to fit the new pump, but then when I looked closely, I could see that there was a key built into the spline. It will only fit in one position. Here the old pump is sat in the box in which the rebuilt pump arrived. Part of me wants to have a go at rebuilding this pump myself, but I think I'd rather send it to an expert. Here's the rebuilt pump fitted to the engine, and it's looking a lot shinier than the rest of the engine. Back for a moment to the old pump, and as you can see, this was the problem with the throttle arm. The spring had actually worn through the steel. All I have to do is weld up the damaged part using my MIG welder. You may be wondering why there's a car battery by the front wheel. Well, it's quite simple. This is an old car battery and it's no good at all. I use it for standing on to get me into the right position to do work on the Land Rover's engine. Today, when I've finished editing and uploading this video, I'm going to go outside and using an angle grinder, I'm going to remove the two battery terminals, because when I was standing on it for quite a while yesterday, I was so preoccupied with the job I didn't notice my heel was on the battery terminal, that I actually injured my right foot and I've been limping ever since. I tried to change the position of the pump, but then I realised that all the piping has to come off to be bent into a slightly different position. Once again, the Land Rover took quite a while to start, and when it did start, it was like a smoke machine. I took it out on the road and gave it a run round the village, and it was okay, not as powerful as it was, but it was far better than it was when I brought it back from Rossmore garage with the pump turned the wrong way. The engine sounded beautiful, it smoked a lot, but the Land Rover would only run at a maximum of 25 miles an hour. The next nice day we have, which I don't think is going to be over Easter, I'm going to change the pump timing and take the injectors off and set them to 2500 psi and see what happens. I'll keep you posted with another video. That's it for now. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.